gentlemen, this is Sherry again. I am in a very special place today. First of all, I'm delighted and very honored to be here at the residence of Tony Buzan. Bonsoir, Tony.
Bonsoir, I'm delighted that you are here.
It's for me.
Welcome, and welcome everybody.
Welcome to his place, Christmas tree, and we are in January 2017, and Tony was more than nice to receive me in his house to do this special interview. Maybe because I'm a licensed instructor in memory and mindmap.
Sharon is a mind mapper par excellence.
Excellence, yeah. As a matter of fact, before coming here, I had to do my homework and to do a mind map of our interview. Tony, first of all, I'm gonna ask you this question that it's been some time I'm asking and wondering. What do you think, you, the inventor of the mind map and the mental literacy, about this news that I'm hearing all over, or the States or in Europe, that they are going to eradicate the pen and the paper to be replaced by something called the tablets, touch? So yes. What do you think about that? I mean, please, as a mother of 3 kids, I'm really concerned.
I am like a cauldron about to explode because taking away the pen and taking away the paper takes away much of the memory, takes much of the brain's capacity, it takes away the senses. You know, when you feel the pen, when you hold the pen, when you see the ink flowing, your brain thinks, the creativity emerges. When you touch, ding, 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 digitalize your brain, you fracture all your thinking. It's very, very, very dangerous.
Dangerous, huh? And they will tell you today that they will replace the pen by a pen, which is related to this to this board. So basically, they are going to have this pen, which is in plastic, but not in material. So what do you? Material
is infinitely intricate. The brain. For example, when people buy a book, when they go into a library, when
yes.
they go into a shop, they pick up the book and they smell it, and they feel the pages, and they feel the cover, and the sense of touch is gigantic in the brain. Much of the brain is devoted to touch.
Okay.
So when you just say, oh yeah, okay, we're going to put it on a plate, it doesn't bend, you can't smell it, it doesn't change with time, it's static.
Yes.
And when things are static, I mean, I'm sure that everybody listening to us, if we now sit here just like this and I just talk to you just like this, being nice and static, and I'm saying all the right thing, I mean, how boring.
Yes. So you're against the Kindle books, you don't like them?
And they're fine as an adjunct. But your brain needs real sunlight.
Okay.
It needs real texture. And so yes, I am very concerned, like deeply concerned about the fact that digitalized people are not aware of the flowingness of things.
Okay.
Of the infinite structures of things, and therefore we will definitely let everybody know that the brain needs a lot more than a tablet.
Okay. I do remember during our course together that you told us the most important thing for the brain is to doodling and daydreaming. So, if you cannot, can you today doodle and daydream with a tablet? Personally, I say no, but I'm not a specialist. I've not been here 40 years to to make my research about the brain. What will happen with the new generation? I mean, you today, what you, if I suppose many people of education will look at us today, what you will tell them? Why no for the tablet or yes at a certain point?
Sharon?
Really?
I can daydream with a tablet, without a tablet. I daydream most of the day.
Yeah.
And I would guarantee that every one of our viewers and listeners, I will bet you that much of the time they're daydreaming. And if they are daydreaming, wonderful.
Mm-hmm.
Because hopefully when they're thinking about mind maps, and off the brain goes into these wonderful stories
Mm-hmm.
that it's telling itself, that it's creating, internal movies. Of course we daydream. And doodling helps you. You can doodle in your mind.
Mm-hmm.
Watch children. Watch children. Very, very young, like 1 year old, 2 years. What do they do? Give me pens, give me pens,
Mm-hmm.
give me colour, give me colour. Let me...
Paintings, everything.
And they will go up on the walls.
Mm-hmm.
The brain needs to think rhythmically. And doodling is rhythmical, it's physical, it's kinesthetic.
Mm-hmm.
So it helps you learn, think, remember, and continue to create more stories.
Tell me, I think that everybody knows today what mind map is. You invented a verb and a noun called mind map. I love it.
May I say that you are the first person to say that I have generated or created a noun and a verb.
Yes.
Which is, so tell me what inspired you to think that, because I can tell you that nobody else has ever said that before.
What inspired me to say? Because when I use it, when I use it with my kids, and did you mind map today? Like it's a verb. It's I know it's a technique, but for me it's not just a noun and a technique. It's a verb. It's a way of saying did you draw your ideas? Well, you replaced draw your ideas by just one word and one verb. It's called mind map. Mind mapper. You see, that's my thing. So tell me in simple.
It is your thing.
Yeah.
But it's now ours.
Yes. Now it's public.
It's a wonderful gift, because for me the mind map is on one level connected with everything.
Mm-hmm.
But to realize that it's a noun mind map, a mind map,
Mm-hmm.
and mind mapping,
Yes.
a verb. So that noun becomes a verb, and around the world, more and more people are using it as a noun and as a verb. What a lovely marriage!
Yeah. Did you mind map your mind map? Yeah, that's. So tell us in simple, very, 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 very simple words. What is a mind map? I know. Just.
You want the most complex, beautiful thinking
a book like this
apparatus.
in 3 sentences. Yes.
Right. Think of a mind map as a map of a city.
Mm-hmm.
If you don't know the city, you need a map.
Yes.
And so you go into the city, you need to know where the main roads are, you need to know where you're going to be, your centre,
Mm-hmm.
you need to know where the restaurants are,
Exactly.
where the theatres are, where the sports areas are,
Mm-hmm.
where these shops, those shops, these entertaining areas.
Mm-hmm.
If you don't have a map, you get lost.
Exactly.
And people get lost. They walk and they get lost. They drive, they get lost.
Mm-hmm.
So with a map, they can find out where they are and where they need to go. The mind map
Mm-hmm.
is the map of the territory of thinking. And that's what a mind map is. It's a map of your thinking.
So who can use mind map? Please.
I would throw a question back to you,
Ah.
and I'll give it to everybody else.
Mm.
Show me anyone who cannot use a mind map. If that is the human language,
So everybody can use it.
they cannot not use it.
Okay, they cannot not use it.
And people who do use it include people like Vicente Fox, the former Mexican president, name Bill Gates,
Okay.
who has said, my mappers help produce the future for more people to communicate.
Yes. Tony, I discovered my map because I was doing some neuroscience studies. And what really astonished me is that my map is a neuroscience tool, like Leonardo da Vinci was a neuroscientific.
Yes, he was.
So how come that you are not using neuroscience, my map as a neuroscience tool? I mean, neuroscience, you can't, it's the brain, it's about the brain, it's about how the brain works. So basically when somebody asks you, or is a bit dubious about the technique and about selling a mind map, or what do you tell him? What do you tell him about the technique? Is that use it and see if it works, or because some people might tell you yes, it only works for kids or not for adults. Usually adults are more how do you say it, réticent, reluctant.
Yes, yes. Many people are frightened of it because they are told when they're children, you can't draw.
Yeah.
You don't daydream. And one of the great stories in my life was that when I first learnt about the brain cell, this was in the 1960s, and I was sitting there, discovering that the brain was not a blank box where you stuff things in and things came out. There was this thing, brain cell. And I went to my psychology of memory professor, and my psychology professor was a memory professor par excellence. But he used to forget his notes. And he didn't like me, and I didn't particularly like him. So when I came in one day after my study, the awareness of the brain cell, I said, excuse me, sir, what you're saying about memory either is right or wrong, because what you say about memory and how it works is contradicting what the professor teaching us about the brain cell said. And he looked at me and he said, Buzan, the brain cell has nothing to do with memory. And I thought, what? I said to him, sir, thank you, sir, for telling me the most important piece of information you've given me so far this year. And that piece of information you've given me is, sir, you do not know what you're talking about. Because the brain cell obviously holds memory. So I fell in love with the brain cell. But that isn't how I was inventing the mind map. I was inventing the mind map by talking about the fact that the brain needed images, it needed connections, it needed locations. And so I was building that. And one day, one of the ahas, the eurekas in my life was, oh my God, this thing I've invented called the mind map looks like a brain cell. Isn't that interesting? Yeah. And it's very interesting.
Tony, we continue.
Sure.
Education. Okay, so what do you think about Sir Ken Robinson? He had this video on YouTube called School Kills Creativity.
Ken is a long-standing dear friend of mine.
Really?
Really? He supported me in a debate the National Union of Teachers
Mhm.
and the annual conference, and I was saying that many schools destroy creativity, and it's not just kind of squidging creativity, it's wiping it out. It's almost like genocide of creativity. It's that serious.
It's that bad.
It's that bad.
Mm.
And so Ken, he's a good, deep thinker, and he obviously loves education, and he loves children. And when he sees children becoming these wonderful geniuses that they are born to be, withering, you know, like a spider in a fire,
Mhm.
terrible.
So you're 100% right with what he says.
I'm 100% behind the fact that what he's really saying is that many school systems are destroying creativity.
Because it's only based on the left part of the brain, it's only on analytic, on math, on science, and not on everything which is not that.
It's more than that.
It's more than that, it's deeper,
It's
I know.
worse and worse and worse.
Yes.
My first book, Use Your Head, was it?
By BBC, yes.
how
First
magical.
book of Tony Buzan. I'm so happy to have it in between my hands. So, this is...
So, why did I write that book?
Yeah.
Because I wanted every child to learn how to think,
Mhm.
to learn how to be creative, to learn how to read, to learn how to note, to learn how to draw, to learn how to read well and comprehend and understand, to learn how to study, to learn how to know the relationship between the brain and the body and the brain. That was my goal, and it still is.
And you succeeded after 40 years. Because this is the first book he did, and then today...
It's interesting that the picture of the brain in there...
Yeah, it's the same that Hugo Duhon is using in their
Yes.
program. And that's the latest book that is going to come out very soon, in maybe a month. Tell me, for you, for Tony Buzan, which country is the best in education?
I think that there are a number of countries that are reaching the right level
Mm-hmm.
to start. The countries that are now beginning to realize that learning how to learn becomes prime. That mind mapping as a human language is a prime learning tool.
Mm-hmm.
Countries that are in the upper echelon,
D'accord.
which is grading them,
Grading them. Again.
Norway,
Okay.
and I think you've heard about Norway. What did you hear about Norway?
I heard about, not far, Finland, that it's amazing that all the courses they give is videos, not the teaching. The teacher doesn't give the course, he just puts on videos. And the kids have, every kid have a paper in many colors, of course, and they mind map the video.
And that's in Finland,
Yes,
and they're doing it in Norway as well,
yes.
and they're now doing that in Singapore. They're doing it in China.
Okay.
They're beginning to do it in Indonesia.
Wow.
So in pockets, it's like little
Yes,
pockets.
it's not spread yet, it's just...
It's growing.
It's
You know,
growing.
it's like a wonderful plant
Okay.
that is growing, spreading, growing, but it's a good one.
So,
So back to the schools. The schools around the world and the countries around the world are beginning to start the movement to nurture and nourish the brain.
mhm.
And that inevitably will happen. We are at the beginning of the dawn of intelligence.
Yes.
The age of intelligence.
Inshallah, as they say. Please, please. One thing I'm asking you. Grades. All parents want their kids to have grades. Once they have grades, they jubilate. As if, for the parent, that is the most important thing for them, is their kids has grades. Please, can you tell them that grades doesn't mean anything? You can be the best ever student in class and then in life not be really successful. I mean,
grades mean a lot. Our brains, and I request any feedback from my friends.
yes.
Everyone loves numbers. Everybody loves numbers. And if they have a team, what do they want their team to be? Number one. If the children are doing something, they've got to be the best.
Okay.
And what does every child do? Mummy, daddy, look at me, look at me.
Yes, okay.
So numbers are really important, but when the numbers are given to you and labelling you in the wrong way,
Exactly.
they're really dangerous.
Tony, is it true that females are stupid? where I come from, in Lebanon,
Yes,
I was
go on.
born, women are not specifically the smart person. They are be beautiful and shut up. You know the thing? Yes. So, is it true that the brain of a woman is limited compared to man?
So at the moment there is no,
Distinguish.
zero, absolute evidence that the male and the female brain are different. They are different on average in terms of biochemistry.
Okay.
So the female tends to have more estrogen. But some men have a lot more estrogen than many females.
Does that impact something about intelligence or about being?
No, not so much intelligence as aggression. And therefore, a female, when she's born, her genetic structure can change throughout her life. It can be worse.
If I understood, is that today a newborn girl with a brain could systematically change everything that we think that she is.
Can change nearly everything.
Okay, so the message is there. Please don't tell us that boys and girls are like this because they.
Yeah, physically there are some differences.
Yes. Okay, we know that.
Vive la différence.
Vive la différence. But the brain can change. So you said something very important. I know how you nourish your mind and your body. You cannot tell us. And the last question is, how do you nourish your soul? Please. You start with the body. Every morning you have a discipline. You are a very disciplined person. Your body needs a discipline.
And it does need it. And discipline is not negative. Discipline means giving the body the repetitive rhythms that it loves.
Mm-hmm.
So for example, you've got muscles.
Mm-hmm.
If you become a couch potato,
Sorry, couch potato. Lobotomizzo.
yes,
Eat, yeah? So?
nothing happens.
No.
Whereas when you lift,
Mm.
the muscle thinks, oh, thanks.
Oxygen.
I'm designed to be used. I, muscle, am designed to be used. For example, when I go to the rowing club, or I practice some of the martial arts, or I do some yoga.
You do a lot of rowing too.
Yes, and that's beautiful.
So every day you practice an activity.
Yes, I usually chat with my body.
I give him some tips to stay alive and happy and healthy.
No, it chats to me, and it says, Tony, I think probably I've done 5 days of activity and I need a break.
Oh, okay, that's about the break. It's not 7 days, 7 days
No, so I don't
week?
do 7 days. I do some,
Mhm.
but it's always for the body.
Mhm.
On the brain,
Yes, for the mind, yes.
for the mind, the brain and the mind, chess is wonderful.
Mm.
Poetry,
I know that the metaphor for you is poetry. That's just the most summum of creation is poetry.
yes. Also, I love to practice my multiple intelligences.
Mm-hmm. So memory?
Memory,
Okay.
and I mind map
Yes.
every day.
Okay.
I feed my brain with good food,
With good food, like good health, good food. And
so it gets good physical food, and it gets good psychological food.
and the soul?
Soul,
At last but not at least.
uh,
At least but not at last.
my soul
Yes.
is everywhere.
Okay. It's
So
special treatment for your soul, as you do for your body and your mind.
I haven't really thought of it as a treatment.
Yeah, but I mean like a discipline or.
It is a discipline. The areas in the world and universe that feed my soul are nature.
Mm-hmm.
So I go into nature.
Okay.
I have animals, birds, living friends, much more intelligent than people have said they were. Dumb beasts.
Yes.
Not dumb, very, very,
Very smart and sharp.
in many areas better than we are. So nature, animals, and also poetry.
Poetry, yes.
When I go into poetry, it's obviously a wonderful physical feeling. So it's good for my body. It's good for my brain and mind. But how do I feel, and how does it energize me? Batteries. If I'm writing poetry and I'm feeling good, when I've spent 2 hours writing poetry, I feel even better.
It's like meditation, maybe.
Yes, it is like a meditation, and I have done meditation as well. So really it's connecting to the universe, and in fact I will show you later
Yes.
that I have written a poem about the universe, and it's my soul poem.
Yeah. We will have it later after the break, the second part actually. Tell me, for the last question of this interview about mind map, memory and speed reading and about creativity, what would you like to add for everybody's looking at us with all the interviews you did? I know. As a licensed instructor in mind map and creativity and memory, what would you like to say to us humans that are here trying to battle against this one mind of teaching, one mind of thinking, one mind of trying to show them that there are different ways?
Yeah, I was trapped in the schools, so like many people, I was in a prison.
Yes.
And I have called them, sentences are prison sentences. You get put in a prison of sentences. And the way I found my way out was, again, learning how to learn, studying the way in which my brain worked, the way in which the geniuses worked, the way in which the biology, the brain cells worked. And then I worked for years and years on what are the best things I need to do. Now we talked about my brain, my body, but I thought, what are the main things that I need to do that then allowed me to do everything else I want to do?
Okay.
And the main things that I thought were, okay, memory. It has to be memory. You know, if I suck out memory, there's nothing left. You know, if I take out your memory, do you know who you are, Sharon?
No, no.
Do you know who your children are?
No, nothing. I have just blackout.
Yes. So I thought, I've got to learn how to strengthen and invigorate my memory.
My memory.
So studying memory, not filing stuff linearly, but real memory. And so that was number one. Combined with speed reading.
Okay.
Because I was sitting there in school, you know, thinking, well, I don't even know what speed reading is. But I don't like reading anyway, and I'm reading too slowly, and I don't get enough comprehension, and I don't understand a lot of it. Don't like homework. And a long story that I'll tell you in our interview next time we meet. But I learned how to read faster, and I learned what reading was. And it was not what I thought it was a lot more. And when I began to learn how to read, and I looked everywhere, including the Quran, you know, the Quran, how did the Prophet Muhammad start, how did that book start? Read, read, and learn how to read. So I thought, okay, memory and reading, pretty good combination. And then I thought, how am I going to take notes? Because I hate my notes. They're so dull. And boom, mind maps.
Yeah.
And that, all those three, then led to creativity, the multiple intelligences, and
problem solving and everything that goes with it.
It was just finding solutions. You know, we thought of ourselves as problem solvers, when in fact, much more importantly, we are solution finders.
Yes, solution
Would
finder.
you rather be a problem solver or a solution finder?
No, solution finder, of course.
So please, everybody, if anybody asks you, you know, what are you, just tell them, I'm a solution finder.
Yeah.
And when you think I'm a solution finder, the brain says, oh, okay, if I'm a solution finder, zoom, 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 yeah, there's a solution. Oh, there's another solution.
Exactly.
Not, oh God, there's another problem.
Yeah, because when you say problem, the mind gets a problem, so he goes, he panics, and he stress.
Yes,
so
it expands.
So don't use the word problem. Bien, at the end, and how do you say Floreant
Dendritae.
Dendritae.
May your brain cells
flourish. Voilà. Bisous. Thank you.
No.